opportunity to stop fighting or to start fighting. So as it becomes comfortable for you, I invite you to return right here, right now. Knowing that you can return to that sacred space anytime you choose. It is Memorial Day. And I am so grateful that we took time to simply bow our heads. Because today is not an easy day, because today we remember. We focus our memory on those who served this great nation. Today we set aside our differences. And we remember those who gave their lives for freedom. We remember the brothers and sisters who fought on our behalf, while their brothers and sisters fought for their return. We remember our sons and daughters who carried the flag of democracy, while their parents placed flags on their lapels and on their front porches. We remember dads and moms who stood watch at the door of war while their children stood watch at home all alone. We remember husbands and wives who carried the weight of war while their spouses carried the burden of an empty dinner plate sat at the dinner table. Each one of these are brothers. Each one of these are sisters, our sons, our daughters, our moms, our dads. Each one in honor and in sacrifice through their courage paid the ultimate price for our freedom. Today we remember with compassion and with love. We turn our memory to those who served on our behalf. We honor each one of those individuals. Each one of those people who stood so we can stand here today. So I'd like to ask at this moment, if you've ever served in our military, please stand. And I'd like to ask if you've ever stood next to or had a family member serve in the military, please stand. And I'd like to ask if you've ever experienced freedom in your life and you know that that freedom is simply upon the shoulders of those who served, please stand. As we stand and look around, we stand because they stood. We have the freedom to sit and stand today. They gave up that freedom. So today I want to honor each and every one of those people who come to mind, whether it is you who served, whether it is a brother or sister who served, whether it is a mother or father who served, whether it is just simply knowing that you stand today because someone served. So I'd like you to have a seat. We will be lighting candles in just a few moments. The way I would like this to happen, and I think the easiest way, is to simply line up in the center aisle. You will walk past the table. You will light a candle, and I ask that you light one candle. One candle to represent all those who you honor today. Set your intention. Set a prayer. Know your truth. There are matches to light from the center that we will be lighting from the center, and outer candles to light the candles in beneath. The other thing is, when you're done with your match, there are two vases on each side with sand in them. Please make sure that you either blow out your match or simply extinguish it by pushing it down in the sand. And then after you're complete, walk along either one of the center aisles to get back to your seat, so we're not going back down the aisle where people are at. Before we do this, I want to talk about our prayer for protection. You see, the prayer for protection is something that was written by James Dillett Freeman. It is a prayer that most Unity churches use at the end of their service or somewhere within their service across this entire nation. The thing about the prayer for protection that is unique, it is a prayer that currently sits on the moon. Most people don't know, but there were two pieces of writing that were brought to the moon, and James Dillett Freeman's prayer for protection was one. The other was also from James Dillett Freeman. The prayer for protection was written during World War II. And many people quibble about why it was written, but I watched an interview with James Dillett Freeman, and this is what he said. In the time of war, there were so many dying. In the time of war, there were so many calling in for prayer. In the time of war, we didn't know what to say clearly that would provide solace, provide safety, and provide hope. And so from that, this prayer was born. 5 lines, very simple. 5 lines that were carried in the backpacks of most of our military men and women. 5 lines that they could read as they held on to their fellow brother and sister and give them the anointing that they may need to make their transition. 5 lines that our prayer associates can use on the phone when people called in for prayer. 5 lines that we can add to the bottom of letters that went out to parents who received that notification that their son and daughter were not coming home. And the 5 lines read as follows. The light of God surrounds you. The light of God enfolds you. The light of God protects you. And the presence of God watches over you. Wherever you are, God is. That was the original prayer. And then it was changed when it went into the first Unity publication to read, the light of God surrounds me. The light of God enfolds me. The light of God protects me. The presence of God watches over me. Wherever I am, God is. And today in Unity churches we read it as following. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. For wherever we are, God is. All 3 of these prayers are very, very powerful. And in different aspects in my life and different circumstances that come up, I change that last word to you or me or us. Because I want to make sure when the prayer is said that it has meaning for the one it's being said for. I find that I say this prayer with myself more than with anyone else. I'm reminded of this prayer every day as it sits on my bathroom mirror when I wake up in the morning. And I'm reminded of this prayer every night as I brush my teeth to retire to go to bed. I am glad to know that this prayer has made it around the world and has even made it out into the ethers of space. I am glad to know that this physical poem has a spiritual essence. I am honored by the poem. I am honored by its writer. But I am most honored by its intention. And I hope each and every one of you use it as much as possible throughout your life. For these words have deep, unending, unlimited power. Memorial Day. 1848, Civil War, brother fighting against brother. As the war came to an end, mothers and fathers attended grave sites and left their flowers. At the end of the war, so many bodies came back all at one time. And so on a faithful day, mothers and fathers streamed in and decorated the graveyard. And after seeing all the flowers and seeing all the decorations, it was declared as Declaration Day. 10 years later, it became known as Memorial Day. But it was not until 1971 that it became a national holiday. And it always falls on the last Monday in May. All across this city, all across this nation, people will go and decorate grave signs. They will go and mention the names of their loved ones. Because what I truly believe is, as long as we continue to hold them in our hearts, as long as we continue to mention their names, as long as we continue to remember who they were, they will live on forever. So today I invite each and every one of you to simply come up and light a candle in their name. The name of a loved one. The name of a stranger. I say the name of a stranger because in Arlington Cemetery there is a cemetery plot. It sits in the center of the cemetery. It is the tomb of the unknown soldier. So as you sit here today, if no name comes to your mind, then I ask that you simply light a candle for that unknown soldier. Inside that tomb sits a soldier from the Civil War. Inside that tomb sits a soldier from World War I, from World War II, from the Korean War. And up until just a few years ago, there was a soldier of a Vietnam War veteran. There was the body of a Vietnam War veteran. But with the advent of DNA testing, they were able to find out the name of that Vietnam War veteran. So he was exhumed and his body was given back to his family. And now that body rests in Smyrna, Georgia. There are men and women fighting for our freedom today. So I'll explain the process once again. We will be lighting our matches from the center for outer candles. We will then light a candle or a tea light in the center of the table. We will then take our match and either blow it out or we will simply extinguish it in the sand. We will leave our intention, leave our hope, leave our prayer, and we will exit back to our seats using the outer aisles. So I just want to let you sit in meditation for just a few minutes so that you can bring to mind all those who you may be lighting a candle for. And then as the music starts to play, as it becomes comfortable for you, I invite you to move into the center aisle and make your way to the table. I have pushed the table out so you can light from both sides if you choose to. Be careful, there is a monitor on our left side, so make sure you look down and don't trip over it. I'm going to dim the lights. I'm going to give you a few minutes, and then when the music starts, feel free at any point to light a candle in the name of a loved one as you go into the silence.
I am
as we know, each of these candles represents a life. And it represents the life for several lives. So I want to make sure we don't leave any candles unlit. So those of you who are able, please come up and light another candle.
You can share with me your goals and problems, and I know you'll always be around. And in your time of need, I will hold you close to my heart. And whenever it's dark, I'll light a candle in your name. There may be times when I don't want to hear the truth that you may have for me. And I know sometimes I've got to let it go in order for truth to be seen. And in your time of need, I will hold you close to my heart. And whenever it's dark, I'll light a candle in your name. I'll light a candle in your name and shield it from the wind and rain. I'll wish upon a falling star that you are safe wherever you are. I'll say a prayer that you are blessed beyond appearances, and I'll light a candle in your name. When the dark clouds come rushing in, I'll be the sun in your light. All it takes is one candle, and there is love. And when it's time to take another step on a road that's been too long, and you find it hard to see things clearly because there's so much going on, and in your time of need, I will hold you close to my heart. And whenever it's dark, I'll light a candle in your
Each one of these lights represents individuals who have passed. Each one of these lights represents someone that stood for us. Each one of these lots represents a war that, in my opinion, should never have happened. It doesn't diminish the men and women who decided to fight and who took up arms for our freedom. But I have got to believe that there is a better way. I have got to believe that these imaginary lines that we draw on a map and then say, this is mine and that's yours, have got to be erased. I watched as the flames rose inside the outer glass and the outer base, and I couldn't help but think, isn't that always the case with war? It always grows out of hand. It always turns into something that we didn't expect. It always becomes explosive. It always becomes dangerous. It always becomes life-threatening and love-threatening and God-threatening. If there is only one presence and one power in the world, and it is God, I don't believe that that one presence and that one power ever decided or desired war. I don't think that one presence or that one power ever desired hate. I don't think the imaginary lines were drawn by God. I believe it is a human instinct and a human need and a human call to divide and separate. I think the power of God only brings us together. I think that a single tea light lit wrong can start a bonfire. And I think a bonfire can burn down an entire forest. Just like the single intention of hate can sponsor a group of hate. And that group of hate can then flourish and become a state of hate. I believe it's the same way with even the smallest fear. That when we light it and we give power to it, it gives the opportunity for that fear to blossom and to grow. And that fear can turn into a group of people that fear other groups of people. It can turn into countries and nations that fear other nations. But I believe there's got to be that single spark first. That single ounce of light, that single glimmer of a spark. What spark will you be today? Will you be the spark of love? Will you be the spark of light? Will you be the flame of good? Will you be the flame of abundance? Or will you continue to fuel hate and loss and lack and frustration and not enoughness? Today we celebrate Memorial Day. We celebrate those who stood. We celebrate each and every light that was extinguished. We celebrate the end of darkness. Because as you lit a light, you have the opportunity to change the dialogue. You have the opportunity to change the narrative. You have the opportunity to be reminded that your light matters. You have the opportunity of knowing that your light may speak the light of a volume or a group of people. You have the opportunity of realizing that where there is darkness, you are needed to create the light. Yes, brave men and women stood for our freedom. But today I'm asking you to stand for our freedom as well. I'm asking you to lay down hate, to lay down fear, to lay down lack, to light up love and light up hope and light up faith and light up strength. I'm asking you to stand in your will and stand in your understanding. I'm asking you to eliminate that which needs to be eliminated and to give power to those things that deserve power. In unity, we say thoughts held in mind produce of their crime. What thoughts are being held in your mind? And are the thoughts that are being held actually keeping you held? Keeping you captive? Keeping you prisoner? Yes, these brave men and women gave their lives. They gave their human lives, but their spiritual lives live on forever. So if your human life is feeling challenged today, I invite you to remind yourself of your spiritual life. And don't let one extinguish the other. Don't let your human life extinguish your spiritual life. Because when you do that, what did all these men and women fight for? What are you fighting for? Can you say that with me? What am I fighting for? Can you say that with me? What am I fighting for? Louder. What am I fighting for? Who am I fighting for?
Who am I fighting for?
What am I willing to lay down today?
What am I willing to lay down today?
How do I honor those who came before me?
How do I honor those who came before me?
Honor those who are yet to come.
And honor those that are yet to come.
Those are questions only you can answer. And each one of those answers is in the silence. Each one of those answers is within the God that is within you. Each one of those answers is waiting to be revealed by that Christ consciousness that is you. Each one of those answers is simply a voice away. And that voice is your voice. If you lit a candle and you understand what that candle meant or what that person meant, and you want to take a candle with you